Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Prashasti Arora and I am going to be discussing the important editorials and articles for today, which is the 16th of October. So I hope you all are doing fine and I hope you're having a good day. Um, Before we start with the topics, I want to discuss a slide with you wherein we're providing free special classes series by Abhishek Saraf, who is All India Rank 8 in UPSC CSE 2019. So do check that out. Now, today we're going to be discussing very interesting articles, and we're going to go deep into the articles and understand every little thing that is important. You know? Now, to start with, we will be understanding everything. I have written a short explainer about the GST, which is in relevant with the article that is GST Center to Borrow for States, right? Which was there in today's Hindu newspaper. So we're going to be discussing what is GST, how is it formed, what is the current situation, how was the council meeting, how did that go about, everything about it. So what we need to understand about GST is that it is a destination based tax. There are two types of taxes, a source based tax and destination based tax. Now, by the very virtue of its name, we understand that the origin state loses out on revenue. Now, how does that happen? Unlike indirect taxation, wherein the taxes were paid in the state of origin, GST is paid in the destination state. Okay? This means that the states where the goods and services are manufactured lose out on revenue. Now, I will explain this to you in a very simple example. Now, for example, goods and services manufactured in Gurgaon, Haryana, will move to Bangalore, right? Now, they will be taxed in Bangalore, and the revenue collected will be part of the revenue account of Karnataka, right? So here Haryana loses out. Haryana loses out on the revenue. So what the government did was, to combat this, the parliament passed GST Compensation to States Act in 2017. Now the states such as Haryana were to be compensated for the loss of revenue. Okay? So this was the solution that was given by the parliament. Okay? Now, how does this exactly happen? The center was to levy GST cess on sin products. Now, you might be asking, what are sin products? Sin products are those products that are harmful to the society, for example, tobacco, etc., and luxury goods such as passenger vehicles. Okay? The revenue from this cess account has to be put in a separate consolidated fund, and every year states which received less than 14% of GST revenue growth in a year could be compensated from this account only. Okay? So this was the only method that was allowed, and no other method was allowed in the act, right? The Compensation Act. So there's a GST cess. I hope you understood the concept of GST cess. If not, do comment and let me know what the doubt is. Now, states are eligible to be compensated only for 2017 to 2022. So this act only covered it till 2022, right? Now, what is the issue exactly? Due to the economic slowdown from the year 2018 and of course the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, the government's decision to enforce lockdown, all of this has led to GST collection which has fallen very badly, right? It has been hit very badly. So as a result, even cess collection has been reduced, and the government owes the states rupees 1.1 lakh crores compensation due to shortfall in state GST revenue collection, right? Now, simply put, the state does not have the kind of resources it needs to compensate the states. Okay? Simple, we understood the crisis. Now, in the recently conducted GST Council, right, what happened is that now, before we go into what happened, we'll talk about what exactly the GST Council is. I've mentioned before also in my lectures that GST Council is a constitutional body wherein this Union Finance Minister is its chairman and the states can nominate their ministers, right? Now, all decisions are taken by a vote and a three-fourth majority, right? The center has weightage of 1/3 and the states together have 2/3 majority. Okay? Now the state has refused to pay the states. I'm so sorry. The center has refused to pay the states any compensation and has given them two options, right? To borrow from the RBI through a special mechanism, and the center will support to some extent, or borrow from the market. Either borrow from RBI or borrow from the market. So these are the two options that the center has given the states. Now, center has decided to borrow on behalf of the states and provide this amount as a loan to the states. So what finally happened is that center finally decided, because of all the protests that happened, center decided that they will borrow on behalf of the states and provide them the amount as a loan to the states, right? The amount will be repaid in the future through enhanced cess collection. Now, the center has also previously lent money when it was unable to lend from the cess account on future borrowings. Okay? Now, fiscal deficit of the union government remains intact as these loans will be paid by the states. So now the onus doesn't only lie on the state, the center, right? However, for future cess collections to increase, economic growth has to be sustained. The only prerequisite of this is that economic growth cannot go down, cannot further be deteriorated, because it will be very difficult for the cess collection to happen. So this was the explainer about GST and what was exactly happening, what was the problem, what was the situation. So here is the glance of it. Now, we've been, of course, all newspaper articles are filled with the air quality of Delhi. We know that last year Delhi was under a public health emergency because of the air quality levels that dipped to a new low level. So, air quality slips to very poor category. It is not a very good sign again. And even as AQI in Delhi reached the poor category due to many reasons, the Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal launched the Red Light On Gadi Off campaign to reduce vehicular pollution in the capital. Now, vehicles waiting at the signal emit more pollutants than moving vehicles. You need to remember this, that when vehicles are being stopped at the signals, they are emitting more pollutants than moving vehicles. It is estimated that out of the 1 crore vehicles in Delhi, even if 10 lakhs switch off their engines at signals, there will be a reduction of 1.4 tons of particulate matter 2.5 pollutant and zero point 0.4 tons of particulate matter 10 pollutant in a year. We know what PM 2.5 and PM 10 is. And in case you have a doubt, you can look at my previous sessions. I've explained it very well there. And we know that the air quality index reduces because of various reasons like stubble burning in the neighboring states to vehicular pollution and various other reasons. So this in order to reduce pollution from the vehicles, Arvind Kejriwal has come up with a campaign called Red Light On Gadi Off campaign. Okay? Now, this will also save the economy and help reduce oil imports, right? It is estimated that a vehicle can save up to 200 ml of fuel in a day and rupees 7,000 per year on fuel. So this is some data that is very, very, very important, right? Now, concerns are that traffic can be impacted as it takes time to switch on and switch off engines at signals, right? And what is exactly needed is smart signals that are connected to IoT devices. We know what IoT devices are: Internet of Thing devices, where one device is connected to another via network of via internet networks, right? And which can rely proper information on waiting time. ठीक है? Now, relay proper information on the waiting time. Now, air pollution kills more than 1.5 million people in India, according to the World Health Organization, and Delhi remains in the most polluted city in the world. So, there has to be a proper plan of action, a concrete mechanism wherein we reduce the level of pollution in the city. Now, the centre is also rushing to avoid stubble burning from Haryana, Punjab, and Uttar Pradesh. Pollution is also due to prevailing weather conditions, which have prevented airflow into the capital. So, of course, there are a lot of reasons as to why the quality of Delhi has been deteriorating, but like I said, all problems have a solution, and if not a solution, there are various mitigation methods to do the same. Especially with technology taking us over, there is so much that we can do to mitigate the effects of the problems that are coming in. Now, a very interesting article indeed, again about that will be relevant for science and tech. Bhind police to stamp bullets with QR codes. We all know what QR codes are. We all use Paytm. We all use Google Pay. We know exactly how the near field communication works in that regard. Now, Bhind police in Madhya Pradesh has launched the QR code for all bullets sold in the district. Now, how is this going to help exactly? This will help the police track the details of every bullet fired from a weapon, and it could make solving criminal cases very easy, because imagine if you know who shot that bullet via a QR code. So I think it's a revolutionary step taken by the police, and if implemented well, it can also be implemented in the rest of the country, right? Now, to give you a brief understanding of the QR code, it consists of black squares arranged in a grid on a white background. You can see exactly in the image that there are black squares arranged in a grid on a white background, right? Information is stored in these squares, right? Now, this information can then be retrieved using a camera scanner or barcode scanner, right? It was invented for the first time in 1994. So, barcode is not something that was just released. It's something that was even there in 1995, right? So this is something that we have to remember here. And another related information that we have to remember here is that the Parliament amended the Arms Act in 2019 and provided for a central database of all weapons and arms licenses that were granted. So this is relevant in that sense, and let's see how this technology pans out. Now, we know that World Food Program won the Nobel Peace Prize. So in that regard, there is an editorial regarding the same. This prize, Nobel Peace Prize in 2020 to the World Food Program, is for efforts in tackling acute food shortage resulting in hunger and starvation across the world. It is estimated that around 700 million people around the world do not have access to food, and the current pandemic is expected to snatch away the plates of another 100 million people around the world. So you see that because of the coronavirus pandemic, the already alarming number of 700 million people is going to get worse, and it's going to snatch another 100 million people, plates around the world. Around the world, 2 million people suffer from various forms of malnutrition, including lack of access to food and food, right? As far as India is concerned, over 196 million people are malnutrition and hungry in India. These numbers are absolutely very alarming. There needs to be a global there needs to be a global campaign to fight the hunger, and especially with the sustainable development goal and the road to zero hunger by 2030, we need to ensure that the global campaign yields the best results. Now, during the pandemic, it is estimated that close to 38,000 relief camps were feeding about 16 million people every day. Right? So you see the number, you see the number of relief camps and the number they were feeding. So that there's a stark problem in that, right? The government has taken efforts to tackle this issue in terms of addressing the various transparency issues in PDS and the midday meal schemes by using Aadhaar and technology. So we know that the midday scheme has helped fight hunger to a great extent, and has also increased the enrollment ratio of students in schools, right? Now, the integrated child development also ensures that women and children are provided for food, and they fight malnutrition. However, malnutrition rates continue to remain high, and over half the women in the age group of 15 to 40 are known to be anemic, right? Situation is acute in states such as Jharkhand, UP, Madhya Pradesh, and Bihar. Right? So these are very alarming numbers, and they really get you thinking as to what you can do as an individual to contribute to this cause of zero hunger by 2030. Uh, we have to be very mindful of the fact that these numbers should may help us become more aware, and should help us be more sensitive to the food that we eat. We need to be more cautious of the wasting of food, the places we go to, the times we throw our food. So we have to be really, really cautious of that. Now, this is basically about the pandemic that has emphasized the importance of globalization. As nations close their doors and look inward, it is actually the responsibility of the global community that has to work together in finding solutions. It cannot be done in a day. It needs uh, cooperation of various stakeholders, a global campaign, right? And institutions may be flawed, but we have to work together to solve the issue of hunger, right? In fact, the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, has supported multilateralism as a pillar of Indian foreign policy, right? Now, a very important article, the editorial is the showdown in Thailand. Now, we know that Thailand is facing immense protest. Now, let's look at why they're facing immense protest and what is going to be the picture like from that. Despite a crackdown initiated by Thai government headed by General Payut Chan Ocha, protesters have continued to protest against the government and monarchy, demanding restoration of democratic rights and the stepping down of the Prime Minister. It was in 2014 that the general came to power in a coup. We know what a military coup is, when the the authority is taken by the military, right? It also happened in Turkey before, if you remember. It was in news for a really long time. After winning a disputed election in 2018, the general enacted a new constitution and forbid criticism of the monarchy and government, and recently oppressed powers to stop public protest and banned the gathering of more than 5 people in an area. Prevailing COVID-19 pandemic has also added to the economic woes of the people, and undemocratic measures have rattled them, right? So, Thailand is going through a democratic crisis, and because of which protests are taking place, and because of the pandemic, situation is only getting worse. Now, the Supreme Court said that no end to violence against women. The Supreme Court noted with dismay that crimes against women are on the rise throughout the country. They raised, they raised the issue of they raised the issue of lack of awareness and reluctance to file cases under the Domestic Violence Act 2005. Right, about 86% of the women victims didn't report the incident. Another example of the limitations of laws in addressing social issues. Right, now the government initiatives for the same has been an MHA order to all states to register and investigate cases pertaining to crimes against women within 2 months. So the MHA order, Ministry of Home Affairs order, to all states has been to register and investigate cases pertaining to crimes against women within 2 months. Right. Also ordered the registration of zero FIR. Right. Now these are complaints that can be registered anywhere without the issue of jurisdiction. So we know that women have faced a problem where the police station has said that this case does not come under their jurisdiction. So this has been completely done away with the concept of zero FIR. The police will register the complaint first and then transfer it to the appropriate police station having the jurisdiction. Women and Child Welfare Ministries one-stop centers are also a step in the right direction, right? Now, the last article of today that we'll be talking about is the exports. Is that exports grew at 6%, that snapped 6 months long slide. We know that exports were hit very badly because of the pandemic, and exports reported a growth of 5.99% after a period of more than 6 months. Of in the month of September, exports totaled to USD 27.58 million in September. In the previous 6 months, there was a decline of almost 16.66% in exports due to the ongoing pandemic and the economic situation. And pharma products, textiles reported maximum growth in exports. There are a lot of government schemes regarding the same also, like merchandise exports from India scheme, credit linked subsidy, etc. So this, in a nutshell, was about today's analysis of the newspaper. And before I sign out, there's a very interesting announcement that I have to make. Unacademy Aspire is an all India free mock test for civil service aspirants who wish to sit for prelims next year, and they will get to understand what their level of preparation is and how they can go further. Right? Then this is all